Hello, everybody. I'm hoping that we're coming through loud and clear to you now. I'm just going to refresh my page. And there we are. Perfect. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shortcuts for Your Soul. I've had to go directly through the YouTube live interface because there's a software problem or a technical problem with BeLive.tv. So I won't be using them today or until a point where there is a consistent service there. So I'll be coming directly from the live YouTube interface. So if anybody wants to share this link out, please do so. Share the live stream link out to people that you think might want to watch this today. Today, I've got Archimedes and I've got Metatron with me, and we're going to be discussing the origins of our emotions, which is a really fascinating and easy to comprehend conception when you begin to understand that we actually, over billions of years, started a creative process on this planet that evolved up to what we call the physical body, so that when we reached the point where we could incarnate in a physical human body, we already had all the hardware and software built into it that we would need to create the life we want to create, to organize and restructure matter energetically as well as physically. So the origins of emotions, they're telling me very clearly, the origins of all human emotions started with the very first cells that evolved on this body, the very first single-celled organisms. So what we would call the amoebas and parameciums and other single-celled organisms that were able to respond first to the sensations of light, darkness, heat, and cold. Those were the first fundamental sensorial responses. The first dawning of emotions were with our physical senses responding from that single-celled perspective to light, dark, heat, and cold. As those cells evolved, what began to unfold is a greater level of sensitivity that increased as the single cells evolved into multicellular organisms and gained locomotion and movement. The process for emotion became more intense. The ability for an organism to feel and respond energetically to conditions in the environment that were in effect or in relationship to them grew with each subsequent renewal of form. What do you mean by renewal of form? With each subsequent evolution of experience from the single-celled to the multi-celled to the plant, to the animal, and eventually to the human. Each of these levels was completed. The level of sensitivity, the awareness of vibration in the body, the nervous system's capacity to handle energy in the form of emotion grew and developed, so that the conditions in the human body now, from the perspective of energy and emotion, are highly evolved. You have access to emotional energy that the single cellular organism did not. You have an awareness of emotions that the single-celled animal did not, whereas you may be able to examine in the previous life forms before human, there was no ability to stop and examine the sensation or the emotional energy that was a reaction or response to the changes in the environment. Whereas you as humans today have the ability now to stand back from your emotions. You are now in the position today where you can now stand back from your emotions and you can organize, change that emotional energy to produce results, not merely through your body, but in the very fabric of time and space. Whereas all other forms before humans, from the origins of emotions, which were simply minute sensations to heat and light, hot and cold, as the need for nutrition evolved, that too became a sensation that was internalized. So the sensations went from being externalized exclusively to being external and internal, where an animal, for example, may know when it is hungry. So it has an internal awareness sensation, or what we call emotional energy. That internal and external sensation gives you the ability to separate yourself from the subjectivity that all previous life forms had to the sensation of the body. The sensation of the body inside and the sensation of the body outside. You, as human beings, are the only forms on this planet that are capable at this time of reorganizing both your mind and your body through the utilization of emotional energy. You are able to increase or decrease the functionality of specific emotions. And in your ability to do that, you can increase or decrease certain conditions in your life, internally and externally. As you now know from the perspective of these many communications that have come through us over the last few months here, that you understand that your emotions are energy that you set in motion deliberately and intentionally. And your ability to be mindful and present of which emotions you will choose to allow yourself to align with or become subjective to. We do not recommend you become subjective to any emotion. We highly recommend that you get into the position of being aware of emotion and be willing to cultivate the higher vibrational emotions, such as love, versus the lower vibrational emotions, such as fear. Both of them simply require your attention in order for them to thrive. If you understand that process, then the idea of being aware of emotions puts you in a completely different position than any other life form on this planet can possibly be. All other forms before the human on this planet can only react. They cannot respond to the conditions of their environment or their internal environment. They can only react to them. For example, an animal that is hungry will search for food. It reacts to that vibration. That action and reaction provides it the means of going out and getting food. That does not necessarily mean it will secure the food. In the human condition, you may identify that you are hungry. You may delay that reaction. You may choose not to eat. You may choose to fast, for example. And as a result, you can override or no longer be subjective to the sensational directions of the body. You are now in the position where you can originate deliberate and conscious change over your energy, which is emotion, which used to be simply sensation. And you can easily observe, if you watch your children, that from the very moment of conception, they go through a process of being a single-celled, and then a multi-celled, and then a multi-celled, and then all these different facets evolve in that form of heart and liver and lungs and brain. And we see in the period of 9 months, the entire evolution of all creation on this planet happen in that short time frame in the human evolution. In the evolution of that fetal structure, from the moment of conception, we see the entire arc of your evolution into that body in which you find yourself listening to these words in right now. And that evolution that you see in those 9 months doesn't stop there. For now you've come into the body at the moment of birth, still unaware that you have a body, still unaware that you've even been born, but you are being aware. You are just undifferentiated from that which you truly are. And so you go back into the process of that external stimuli of sensation around you getting your attention and sensation within you causing you to react, to cry and hunger. And you watch the child go through this. And there's a process, an evolution of your emotions that happens in your physical body that took billions of years to bring it to this. In understanding this evolution, you move yourself into the position in consciousness where you begin to assume authority over emotion and biological reaction and response, and they become your servant and not your master. The origins of your emotion are very simple. They are, in the last analysis, the action and reaction response of the body's survival mechanism, the need for the form to survive until you arrived in it, in that physical form. And now you are equipped with the energy built into the system that you can harness and utilize to, again, you can affect time, space through your body directly, but as an awakened soul that recognizes you are not your body, you are not your mind, you are not the emotional energy, you are the director of these things. From that perspective, you can alter time, space greatly, not simply from the localized perspective of the physical body, but you may easily and effectively affect changes far beyond the scope of your senses perception. As you have seen in the last 100 years, you've seen conditions of distant healing, astral projection, beings that are able to move their consciousness to points of time and space without any apparent form, and able to easily and effectively translate information from points of time and space not immediate to the localization of their body. That is because the conscious awareness that you are has the ability to reorganize matter very differently than your body in and of itself does. And it is important that humanity at this stage, at this time especially, overcome its subjectivity to matter, to mind, to emotions, in order to facilitate the necessary changes to prevent conditions that will naturally unfold from a sustained emotional energy of fear, which is currently existent in the human collective unconsciousness. And until this emotional extension of fear is stopped, there are certain events that will actually unfold. If you see an animal or a dog or a cat, when you startle it, it reacts very specifically. Well, so too does the consciousness of this planet and the energy that this planet is connected to in the form of other planets and the stars that will react energetically to certain qualities of emotion. The emotion of fear in the human collective unconsciousness has far greater ramifications than what most people understand or comprehend. Even in the scientific communities, they're just now beginning to understand the relationship and impact of emotional energy over time, space, and matter. Although they do not have the equipment to measure the effects and influences of emotional energy specifically in non-localized time, those instrumentations will be developed in the next 10 to 15 years, that they will be able to actually see an individual's awareness move through time and space with mechanisms that can measure those frequencies. But there is no equipment currently measured that can actually measure the emotional wave outside the form. So when you think a thought or you have a feeling, you're generating this thought or this feeling into time and space. And that movement of energy into time and space organizes time and space. So the time is now for humanity to begin the process of liberating itself from actions governed by fear or fear governed by actions. It is time for humanity to align itself to a higher vibrational frequency of love, truth, wisdom, compassion. These are frequencies that organize matter very differently than do fear and its children of guilt and anger and shame and depression and anxiety. Each is an energy, and it is simply just energy, but each is also able to be transmuted by the other. In other words, the vibration of love can transmute the vibration of fear, as fear can transmute the vibration of love, but only in conditions where the individual is unconscious of the process of the movement of emotion. For example, in that body you're in right now, you may be feeling a certain way, and we would say to you, take a deep breath and allow your body to relax, and allow your mind to get quiet as your body relaxes. And think of something really good. Think of your favorite food, or your favorite place to sit and relax, or your favorite story, or things that give you pleasure. Think of those things right now, and you will notice immediately there's a state, an energy that you begin to cultivate deliberately into the moment of now. And you may do the same in the reverse. You may think of something scary or concerning about your future or from your past, and you may create that energy. To be conscious means to have choice over what thought and what emotion, for thoughts will organize energy, and you organize your thoughts. So being mindful is the conscious and deliberate process of organizing your thoughts, which organize your emotions, which organizes matter. And this requires awareness. So wherever you are, whatever you do, be mindful of what emotions you will choose to give attention to, what thoughts you will give attention to. While the origins of your emotions are very simple stimulus and response. That's where your origins are of your emotions, stimulus, response. But now you are the awareness that can be mindful of the stimulus and the response, and through an emotional articulation, change your reaction to either and the way things are organized as a result in your world. Many of you do not understand the relationship between that physical body you're in and the next body beside you, or the walls, or the floor, or the trees. Many of you do not understand the impact, the control, the opportunity that resides in your ability to align yourself deliberately, consciously, and intentionally to vibrational energies that are life-sustaining and life-giving. Our reason for coming today to discuss the concept of the origins of emotions is to recognize that many of you still function in that framework of thinking that you are just an amoeba or a paramecium, that you get a stimulus and you only respond and react to it. There's no awareness, but there's also many more of you now that are waking up to the realization that is not who you are. You are not a stimulus response mechanism. You are aware of thought, you are aware of emotion, and you are able to transform, transmute, and change those emotions, and therefore transform, transmute, and change the existing conditions on your planet today. The conditions in your environment are direct responses to the overall emotional energy quotient on this planet. And while science can measure the obvious things of the senses that the scientific instruments can measure, cloud density and solar bombardment and cosmic radiation and tectonic movement, they are not incorporating into this process the understanding of the relationship of combined emotional energy among your species and the species of other beings here. By other beings, we mean the lower animal forms that you use, you currently harness for food. The emotional quotient that you generate from them is a net negative. When you eat them and consume them and hunt them, you're generating a net negative fear energy, and your planetary and solar systems react and respond to this. You may think that we're saying something very silly, but we are not. And one day your science will hopefully discover this, that the emotional qualities of a species affects the overall functionality of the entire ecological system. Thank you. It's funny, they're showing me a picture of the buffalo, when the great herds of buffalo were going through North America, and how the actual energy of that species actually maintained huge weather patterns, were literally maintained by their movement. Their actual movement actually organized literal weather patterns in space, in time, in the atmosphere. And science, I know, has recently, in the last 10 years, discovered that large movements of fish, migratory fish through the oceans, have helped contribute to the movement of current. And it makes perfect sense. Nikola Tesla did an experiment many, many years ago where he took a small hammer hooked up to a mechanism that allowed the hammer to hit a beam in a building that he was doing this experiment in. And it was just this one small hammer, and would hit the beam at precise intervals. And after a period of time, the single movement of that beam caused of that hammer against the beam caused a vibration to happen in the beam. And he had the frequency of the movement of the hammer in such a fashion so that it would cause that beam to move more and more and more. And after 2 days, the police came. He had to stop the experiment because literally the whole building was shaking. And that's just a single hammer by the inspiration of one soul that came into this world to offer us wisdom and truth from a practical scientific perspective, that we could control and organize matter on a grand scale with very little effort. That was showing us that little tiny movement of a hammer, a mechanical hammer, could literally bring that whole building down. And he said he could literally split the world apart if he wanted to. That's a pretty fascinating revelation from a being like that. And what they're saying to us today is we need to get into a place where we recognize the value of the emotional energy and how it affects time-space. And there's every life form on this planet is contributing to it in one way or another, either positive or negative. We really need to get to that understanding. It's so important. It's funny. I have never, in all the times I've been bringing these beings through, I have never ever looked up who it is, ever. But yesterday when Archimedes came into my meditation and said, I want to talk about the origins of emotion, I went, Archimedes. So I actually went and I looked up Archimedes. And Archimedes apparently was a mathematician who had discovered the theorem of pi and how to calculate the volume of a sphere in the area of a circle. He was, in his time, he was considered a mathematical genius. He understood the concept of water displacement. And so I asked him, I said, after I did that, I said, well, why are you coming to talk? And he said, because the same conditions exist in your species now that existed in my species then. that our emotions were directing our actions rather than our awareness directing our emotions, which in turn would direct our actions. You are seeing now today the farthest swing from positivity you can relative to where we were, although the destruction that we faced was a net result of the same fate that humanity is currently potentially facing if they do not learn to change the emotional energies that they are working with in themselves and what they're cultivating in others. For the way you are treating the other life forms on this planet is equally as appalling as what we did. What we did was horrible. The wars, the conquest, the domination, the deforestation, and you are doing this again. So I came today specifically to remind you that you are recreating the exact same conditions that brought our society to fall and many others since. And you have not made the understanding nor the distinction that it has nothing to do with your technology that's going to change the conditions in this world, although they can be used in that fashion, but it is ultimately the emotional conditions that you as a species choose to align yourself to that will organize these conditions more than anything. And the conditions of your environment, this climate change, is because of the internal change. Many of you are recognizing there's lots of negative things happening in your environment, but very few of you have made the correlation between how you are feeling as a species and how other species are feeling, how the forests are feeling, how the birds are feeling. There used to be great flocks of birds over your earth. They're gone. And they all contributed. And when you take away so many pillars of a temple, it falls. You know this. And so there is still time. There is still time for humanity to align itself away from fear and towards a vibrational frequency of love. For both fear and love create very precise conditions in time and space and matter. Conditions of fear are often linked to conditions of disease and sickness and the creation of things that create disease and sickness. You will create things that will create disease and sickness from your fear, whereas love creates harmony, it creates joy, it creates acceptance and transcendence and community. It creates playfulness, curiosity, and excitement. It creates order and passion and excitement. It creates meaning and purpose. And that is why I came to this one. And that is why I am here with you today, to understand that you do not need to recreate what we have already done. Thank you. Yeah, let's get into some questions and answers. Metatron's been kind of just sitting on the back burners watching this flow, but they collectively broadcast the original conception. Metatron is saying there are geometric configurations, geometric imagery that will actually articulate emotional conditions. There are organized patterns that can, when held in mind, organize your thoughts and organize your emotions. He's saying the reason Metatron's cube was brought down into this dimension as a visual representation of a three-dimensional event. He says the reason that was done is so that people could get aligned to the level of organization and structure that represents, because that is love. Love is an organizing principle. It creates a highly functional organic structure, as well as highly functional functions of consciousness as well. He says it's really important that you understand the geometry and how it organizes your consciousness, not to merely use it for mathematical equation and information, but to understand its organizing features in terms of your consciousness. When you understand the organizing features of geometry from the perspective of your consciousness, then you will be more mindful of the types of mathematics, the types of symbols and images that you choose to focus on, for each as either going to create an extending condition of love or a diminishing condition of fear. And unfortunately, we see you in a diminishing condition of fear overall as a species, which is why so many of us are here to inspire you to remember who you are, that you pre-created this physical matter to reorganize matter into a frequency of love. And you may consider the past lives that you've had and how they've impacted you. But if you choose to carry forth that which is before, you will rebirth that which was before into now, which many of you have been doing. It is unnecessary. Your past is unnecessary for your future. Your present, what you know, is necessary. What you know in terms of the difference between love and fear is necessary for the process of creating a paradigm of a highly organized expression of human collective unconsciousness, organizing a planetary and solar system that will support and sustain your life far more than you could ever imagine at the present time. If you begin the process of alignment to love and away from fear, you will see a whole other creative process emerge in the collectivism of your species. Please understand this, that if you do not do this, there are certain effects that are inevitable. There are natural effects to love. There are natural effects to fear. We have no concern about either of those, for we're not lost in either one. And our creative process is from the perspective of love and above. For there are frequencies of creation that would go as far above love as love goes above fear in this physical dimension. And from this perspective, where I am communicating to you through this one, from this perspective, I am at the lower end of a scale that goes way above me. And if you understand this, then you will recognize you are very humble, at the very humble beginnings, but do not waste this precious opportunity that you have as a species to realign yourselves away from fear and into love. And anything that you do that drives your fear will drive the behaviors of fear. And anything you do from love will drive the behaviors of love. All your technology, all of your knowledge can only come from either love or fear. And each of those expresses very different effects in the conditions of your physical realm. And it is our goal to awaken you at least to that truth, so that you may choose to go one way or the other. And there is no enforcement of any kind here. There's no attempt to assert our will over you, merely the recognition that we can see children going towards a cliff, that if they're not aware of that cliff, they will fall off. But there's another way to go. And you know the difference. You all know the difference when you are in fear or when you are in love. You all know the difference to this. Yes, he's saying from that perspective, it's important you understand how to go forth from here. Do not choose thoughts that stimulate the energy of fear. Do not pay attention to thoughts that stimulate the energy of fear. And if you become aware of the energy of fear, don't give it energy. Don't try to figure out why you're afraid. Let it go. Yeah, it's something I've been learning the last, when I had that event a couple weeks ago where I lost my identification and I literally lost myself. I lost my old self. You come to the place, the recognition of what we've been understanding now in terms of who you are and who you are not. And a process, and again, we've given some really simple stuff in the last week and a half about how to begin to disassociate yourself from being locked into your mind and your body, recognizing consciously who are you and who you are not. Are you this fear thought? No, that's not who I am. No, this love thought, this is who I am. Learning to make that conscious distinction liberates us a lot. Anyway, let's go into some questions and answers. So I was really excited when they first came yesterday and told me about the process, the evolution. It made perfect sense to me that the single-celled organisms on the planet respond to very fundamental things based on the environment. And then when they evolved up a little more and nutrition became, in a sense, then they began sensation, response to sensations moved internal. And we're, as humans, we have both an internal ability to respond and an external ability to respond. He's just saying to me now, Metatron's just saying to me now, it's important to understand that your internal perception of reality will be equal to your external perception of reality. What do you mean? Your ability to organize what is on the inside of you will organize what is on the outside of you as equal. If you surrender yourself to the outside world around you, it will organize you as well. He says, I highly recommend that you become the organizer of what is both within you and around you. Do not let others do it for you unless you know that is a source of good report, one that can provide you with clear, verifiable experiential information that will let you know the truth of what you know, not because one says it or doesn't say it, but because your experience bears out the reality of the information that they offered you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I'm so glad you guys hung out. Hi, everybody. I have no idea where we are on this. Let's see. Let's scroll up. Wow. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being so patient with the technical issues with Be Live TV. I have no idea what it is, but we're going to find out what it is, or I'll go to a different user interface. But yeah, please, if you like what the content you're getting, please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, share this link with other people. Humanity needs to know that we are not a helpless bunch of beings. Whether you're living on the street or in a mansion, we are all united energetically. We all carry a net result into the collective experience of this planet and of our solar system. And from what Metatron and Archimedes are saying, it's really important to recognize that relationship, get into a place of joy, get into a place, an energetic place of like really blissing out and feeling gratitude and appreciation for everything and everyone around us. And then treating everything with the same respect that gratitude and appreciation would require. For appreciation and gratitude would make you treat somebody very different than your disdain or your dislike, right? And you're looking at somebody like that, you're communicating an energy to them that's not going to be supportive of who they could potentially be. So being able to really align ourselves deliberately to that energy is so important, so important at this time. I really hope that, so please share this out, get this to other people. Question, let's see. Okay, question from Danielle. Who are you interacting with higher self? No, I've been interacting with Archimedes and Metatron today, and yesterday for a good chunk. It's the understanding that Metatron gave us today, for example, about geometry. Why he's been giving us so many people all these different geometric and sacred geometrical patterns, because literally, when you focus on the three right now. You don't focus on these images as a flat two-dimensional image. They are three-dimensional images that have a depth. And it's that you want to sense and experience the whole image so that you can feel the vibration of love and organization that is seeking to communicate to us through those symbols, right? So yeah, it's Archimedes and Metatron. Thank you for asking, Danielle. Yes. Question from Tanya. Which geometrical pattern represents union, love? Can I virtually send this pattern into my cells? Absolutely. He's saying yes. He's actually really excited. Hands over his heart, putting his hands together like this, literally. Yes, you can take a pattern three-dimensionally. He's stressing again, three-dimensionally. You want to bring the image. You'll know. He says you'll know if the quality of the image that you're using, because he says many of you have created your own representations of love in imagery. And if it truly represents your vibration of love, then you may do this. You may move those images literally into the central sun of a cell and allow the energy of that frequency to reorganize the cellular structure. It will do this. Thank you. That's a really good question, Tanya. Wow, totally. Question from Daniel Riverin. Talking of chakras, does my soul lives in one house? Does my soul live in one house or chakra? And what? No. He's saying no. You in your essence are omnipresent. You are in the image of the Great One. And he says he's using that term, the Great One, in reference to this dimensional experience that we call our universe. It's one-dimensional experience. He says, you are actually in pure awareness. You are one with all that which is. You are not separate from it except by perception in the physical form. But now in the physical form, you get to apply the creative process in a different way than you did when you helped create the stars and the planets and the galaxies that you can observe with your equipment today. Wow. Um, yes, he says also there is a link. There is a link between the movement of your chakras and the emotions that you are feeling. The lower the frequency of, he's saying, the lower the vibration in terms of fear. If you're going into deep despair, the lower chakras will slow down very much. The energy becomes very soupy-like, very syrupy-like. Is that the word? Just slow, he said. Just so the lower the vibrational motion you're in, the slower the chakra movement is in the different energy centers of the body. So you want to bring your energy up. Yes, I would suggest combining the idea of taking sacred geometric symbols in their three-dimensional form and putting them into the center of different chakras. He's saying there are certain symbols. If you look, he says, if you look at my cube, what you call my cube, then the different energy centers and the three-dimensional image at that specific center can be acquired from that image that you call what you call Metatron's cube. That's really cool. Thank you. So yeah, that's a really good one. Nice question. Hi, Bethany. I'm just, I have no chat there. That's interesting. Okay. So let's scroll down. Next question. A question from Reflection. How does emotions exactly organize matter? By focusing on what we want to manifest into our reality? It sounds very chaotic if we're all doing this subconsciously. He says, yes, it has been very chaotic because most of you are doing it subconsciously. In your human realm, look at what is happening to your planet. It is very chaotic, but you are an organizing principle. You as an awareness are an organizing principle. Can you not put your hand up like this and tell your fingers to open and close? Is that not a way that you organize matter with energy? You are using emotional energy to do that. You do not realize that. It is not simply the mechanical movements of muscles and ligaments and tendons and nerves. It is the execution of energy through the system by you to organize this physical movement. And this process applies to the external world equally when you become aware of that relationship. When many of you ask us to give you signs and symptoms of what you're asking for, and you get it. You get number sequences, and you get suddenly you get a windfall from somewhere, or you meet a special someone or something you've asked for, and it shows up around you, and you think we've given it to you. All we've done is direct you energetically towards that which you requested. Because you asked for it, you're in alignment with it, and so it makes sense that you would be drawn to it. So please understand that you as an organizing principle, when your emotions are effectively organized, you will organize the matter around you as well as you can manifest the organization of the matter within you. All of you can reorganize the rate of your heartbeat. You can even incline the kidneys or the liver to function very differently if you understand the emotional movement of energy through the applied process of focus and attention. Being able to give your attention or to tune into the vibrational energy that represents a functioning organ in perfect condition. That is a vibration, an energy that needs to be, if an organ is not functioning properly, it's because the energy is not functioning properly. They're not the right energy getting to it. You can reorganize that energy. You have people on beings on this planet, they're doing this for you now. Mm-hmm. And from what he's saying, Wim Hof comes to mind for me as somebody who's taught how to make the inside of the body work exactly the way he wants it to. And I highly recommend, if you ever get a chance, check out Wim Hof, Wimhoff, master of how to work the entire acquired instinctual mechanism, mechanical apparatus. They've even injected his students with cold viruses, and they don't get sick because he's trained them how to tell the different functions of the body to do this. And all he's basically doing is retuning through intention the body to a different emotional condition, and so the body follows suit. If I tell my body to jump up and down, it's got no choice, right? If I tell my hand to open and close, it's got no choice. It follows directions. So if you learn to get into the autonomic systems of the body and you learn how to give them direction, you can tell the immune system to be 10 times stronger. And therefore, you don't have to worry about colds or viruses or anything because your immune system is functioning the way you're telling it to, right? You hire an employee to do a job for you. and they do a good job for you, that's great. If they do a poor job for you, you fire them. If they do a good job, you keep them, right? It's the same thing. You tell your body what you want to do, and it will follow your instructions. A good employee will do the same thing. I know that was a bad example. Okay. If she has a message for me and anything that she wants me to know and do for her, she's kind of shaking her head and saying, it's time you do for you. She's saying that the faith you are seeking to obtain from me is the faith you must see in yourself. What you would have me do for you, you may do for yourself. And in the actualization of that, you will find us being equal. You will find us being able to communicate directly when you are in alignment with me energetically. Do not put yourself below me. Put yourself with me. And you will find that which you ask for is something you may grant yourself. She's saying vibrationally, I will be in alignment with you on that. I always am. But you must be vibration in alignment within yourself on that. Cool. So I'm interpreting that to mean if you are really pumped about what you want and need, and you're really excited about receiving it, and you believe you're going to create it and receive it, you're going to align yourself energetically. She's saying that's not quite accurate, but it's partway there. That you will align yourself to the creation in this world of that event or circumstance happening. Thank you, Adam. Question from Hyatt. I have recently received the message to relinquish attachment, but it feels like losing my entire identity, which creates grief. How could I overcome this? This is a great question. It's a really good question, because the old self doesn't want to give up that easily. Who wants to answer that? Yes. Then you must surrender your grief. I don't know who this is, but I feel like it's one of your guardians. They're saying you have to surrender your grief. Even your grief you must release. But you should not be feeling less. You should be feeling more. But as long as you are attached to that, you will feel less. Let go of your grief. Let go of your grief. That is not who you are. That is not who you are. That is not who you are. You are not that grief. You are something else. Wow. Thank you, Hayat. Let's see here. Going up here. Oh, thank you, Terry, for that super chat. Really appreciate it. How do I create the feeling of deserving an abundant work life? That's a great question. And you start with the idea. The thought and the idea is there. I'm living an abundant work life. That's the thought. If you were living an abundant work life, how would you feel right now? The truth is, you'd feel excited. You'd feel happy. You'd feel easy. You'd feel like free. So you want to cultivate feelings that match the result. And the way to do that, the way I do that, is I literally just allow myself to think about the idea, and then I start feeling what that idea would make my body feel like. And my body starts to feel relaxed and gets excited. It literally is. I'll be sitting in a chair and I'll be thinking about the things I think about that I'm in the process of creating. And I find my body getting excited like a little kid. I'll literally feel that happening in my body. And you want, when your body is reacting to what you're thinking, you know that you're generating the frequency into this world. So important to understand that simple point. When your body is reacting to what you're imagining, you're generating an electrical energy and emotional energy into this world that will begin to create the result that matches it in frequency. So that's my response, my personal response to you, Terry. Get to that place where you're finding your body's feeling the idea of whatever the job is or whatever it is you think of an abundant lifestyle would look like, the places you'd go, the people you'd meet, the things you'd see, the work you'd be doing. Fill your mind with those, and to the point where you're so vivid in that you can feel your body getting excited. And that excitement is an indication in your body that you're drawing that energy down from the undifferentiated energy into time space. It's when your body's reacting, right? A lot of people try to get their body reacting by watching TV. They watch television, right? And they watch this movie and that movie, and they get a reaction of joy or a reaction of sorrow, or a reaction of fear, or a reaction of tears, and they get controlled. Their reactions are controlled by out there. You want to go inside and control the reactions from inside out. Don't let the world around you determine what you are going to think on or what you're going to feel on, unless that information coming to you is verifiable and provable from your own personal experience. So please take this, go off somewhere, 15 minutes a day minimum, and go into your sense of what you'd be doing, where you'd be going, how you'd be feeling. And when your body starts to react to that, you know you're getting through. You know you're bringing the energy down in. You know, that's the way you know your body is reacting. That's for everybody, not just for you. Thank you for asking that question, Terry. Really, really appreciate it. So yeah, once your body is reacting to an idea, the outcome is being generated. And you can stop the reaction. So one of the reasons why people don't get results when they're doing things, they think, I want to be rich, I want to be rich, I want to be rich, I want to be rich. And they get excited about it. And then something happens, they get a bill in the mail, and they get all upset. Oh, raps, I got this bill in the mail. And they literally turn the switch off. And you can't do that. You can't go there. You got to stay on the one until it happens. Be patient. You'll start getting signs pretty quickly. Happens very quickly. Question from Bethany. Should I get some monatomic gold? Will it help me with my energy? Absolutely. If you believe it'll help you with your energy, it absolutely will. Vibrationally, monatomic gold from the perspective of a frequency is very beneficial for the body if you're going to look at just frequency. But I'll tell you something, Bethany. You can right now, you could literally put a big smile on your face, tilt your head up a bit, hold your hand over your heart, and just decide to be really grateful for this moment. And you will alter the frequency of your body that fast. Because when you direct mind and body to function in very precise ways, certain energetic results are inevitable. You want to raise the frequency of your body. You want to align yourself to the soul that you are. That's truly what you're trying to tell us you're doing. You want to align yourself to what you already are. Then align your mind and body to that. And keep it aligned to that until your body and mind are a clear vessel for you to go through it all the time. Cool. Great question, Bethany. Yeah. Just scrolling down here. Question from Tanya. I have dreamt of twin hyena babies crawling onto my lap. What does that mean? Well, it sounds like you again. I'm speaking from William's perspective. They're just laughing because to them that's not a question they would answer. But from my William perspective, I would say this: that you are now bringing together the opposites of your human nature into harmony. You're bringing the opposites of your human nature into harmony. And if you review that dream carefully, you'll see that both are in harmony because they're on your lap. So what do they represent for you? Do they represent joy? Do they represent excitement? Do they represent compassion, kindness, love? What does the emotional content of that dream represent? And once you understand what you felt about the dream as a whole, you'll understand the energy that you're seeking to bring forth into time space, right? Or the energy you want to get rid of in time space, because some people can have that same experience and be terrified of the little creatures on their lap, and therefore that they want to be aware that they need to get rid of their fear, right? Wow, you're welcome, Reflection. Question from Reflection: is time an illusion? If we visualize so passionately, can we instantly organize matter? Yes, and yes. Time is an illusion from this perspective of who you are as a being. For in the being of what you are, you can organize time very differently. As many of you know, when you're in a state of joy, your time goes very fast. You are reorganizing time by the vibrational state of your joy. When you're in a vibrational state of depression or sadness, you organize time very slowly. So you are organizing time all the time, but most of you don't understand this. It is why it's very important to keep your vibration high so you get to experience more time while you're in that physical body, in this physical world. Yes. So yeah, So both of those are true. Yes, we do. We do organize those things the way we want to. And yes, you can instantly organize matter, right? That's pretty instant. But most people are conditioned to believe, well, that's just my body. It's not the world around me. But when you recognize that you as an awareness are not separate from, you're not separate from everything around you. What you are feeling and thinking, what the world is doing, what other people are thinking, it's all interactive. It's all interactive. And yet you still think you can do this easily, and you can. You just haven't learned that the same relationship applies to the rest of the physical world from the perspective of your knowing and your awareness and your feeling. For it is your feeling that organizes matter. The intensity of your emotion is what organizes matter. The intensity of your desire to close your hand organizes it. A little baby, if you look at them, they can barely do that. They had to acquire the knowledge, the awareness, the experience to know they could do that. So too do you. You get those little signs of land where certain things happen for you. And you know, yeah, I'm on track. But you need to leverage that energy and realize, wow, it's happening. It's happened. It's just now showing up. And so the intensity of the emotional belief needs to be cultivated so you could literally manifest as easily as you can open and close your hand. Literally. Yeah. Well, you're welcome. I think we're pretty much done for today, guys. We're at 10:59. So again, I will see you guys. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the messages that I give here, please go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/William Michael Forbes, and become a patron there. We have special events for patrons where I give away a free reading once a month. We do live patron events, patron-only events where we do Q&A. We talk to divine beings. We have a lot of fun. Do a lot of change and grow. And it's just a good thing to do. We also donate to a group called OurRescue.org, which is an organization that goes out and literally rescues children from the sex slave trade. And we give a percentage of everything we get from YouTube and Patreon for that purpose, to support that organization that's very close to our hearts, helping little people. Other ways you can support, you can use the super chat. Anytime you come live, please use the super chat. You can, for a small donation of anywhere from $1 to whatever you like, you can make a donation and support the work that way as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for today. I want to thank Archimedes and Metatron and that other being that came in for one of the questioners today, for being present with us today. I want to wish you a much loved and joyful day, and carry the vibration of love consciously in your heart as often as you can, and turn your other cheek away from the vibrations of fear and anger. Turn your cheek away from those things inside yourself, and you'll find you won't see those things in your world anymore. So guys, thank you once again. I'm going to put this on the YouTube channel as a video, and have a great, wonderful, joyful day. Bye for now. Oh, there's the button for ending the stream.